Joe from Purple Valley Goa, and today I wanted to talk about effective forward folding. And when I'm talking about forward fold, I don't mean pulling forward. Remember, Paschimottanasana, the forward fold we know, means back stretching. So we actually practice yoga to the east. Paschima means west. So the clue is in the name. You're pulling back to the west. And this kind of represents, this kind of tension between opposites really represents the yoga stretch altogether. That you're trying to find a balance between the pushing, generally speaking, a pushing with your legs and a pulling back through your back. Yeah. So you're not trying to become flat as a pancake. Yeah? The idea is not to pull as far forward with your bum as you can to get the chest further on the thighs. That's not the idea at all. It may feel good in a way, and that's the trouble, because overstretching often does feel good, and as much as it's exhilarating, but effectively for a long-term purpose, not so much, right? Why is that? Because it pulls your lower back, it pulls your hamstrings, and you probably heard that idea of, well, that thing of yoga butt, where you feel this pinching where the hamstring attaches to the thigh, and this is very unpleasant, and it doesn't need to happen at all. If we just pursue yoga stretch as it's meant to be, it means a yoga stretch is a stretch between two opposing forces. Two opposing forces structured back into the body. So as I'm pushing with my feet, I'm pulling back towards myself. There's always a tension between opposites, a right tension. So first of all, instead of pulling your bum back, just keep it slightly tucked in. Not the tailbone completely tucked in, basically between the tailbone out, a posterior tilt of the hips and the interior, and the anterior, right? So you just want a neutral pelvis. Imagine you've got a bowl of water and you're just keeping that bowl of water on the ground, yeah? And the tailbone straight down. Yeah? The balls of the big toes are pressing forward. In fact, the balls of the big toes are further forward than my heels. Yeah? So I'm actually reaching out of my legs rather than pulling up on my thighs and pulling the heels towards me. Yeah? I'm pushing through the front of the leg using the whole of the leg. Yeah? So now I can pull against it. So as I come up, I don't pull forward from the lower back at all. Imagine there's a yoga block here, and I'm going to lift up the ribs over that yoga block, keeping the neck. Imagine you're holding the ears, yeah? So you kind of come forward, keeping the line of the neck. So you're not using the drishti as generally, this is often done just looking up to the feet, but nor are you looking down, right? You're just keeping the length of the neck. A natural neck is kept in line with the spine. And you've come over your yoga block, keeping the ribs lifted up and over, keeping the tailbone down, pushing the balls of the big toes forward, taking the feet wherever you are, or taking the ankles, doesn't matter, taking the knees, doesn't matter where you're at in the shape, but the effectiveness of the shape depends on what you do in whatever shape you're making. So now, on the exhale, I'm pulling back with my hands on my feet, or my hands on my calf or my ankles, or whether I even wish to place my hands on the mat. In the inhale, there's a slight extension as the diaphragm lifts the ribs. As you exhale, the diaphragm pulls in, and it pulls you back. Well, you can make it pull you back, and also you're pushing from the feet, so you're literally pulling back against that with the stomach. And you've got this kind of circular movement of the shoulder blades, a kind of undulation, one way and the other way, right? Imagine the spiraling one way and a spiraling the other way. Yeah, and you can do that with the breathing. Well, that happens when you get the breathing and the stomach engagement right. Yeah? The bandha is only as useful as it makes that movement of the shoulder blades, in my mind. Yeah? Bandha for the sake of bandha is useless, meaningless. Bandha for the sake of a diaphragmatic breathing and the movement that it makes to the shoulder blades is the thing we're looking for, I think. Yeah? So you've got a round back here, you've got the toes pushing forward, the balls of the big toes pushing forward, the tailbone descending so it's not sticking out. I'm coming over my yoga block, coming as far as I can, which probably will be less far than the chest on the floor, the chest on the legs, and in fact I'm not looking for the chest on the legs at all. I've got a space between my belly and the thighs, and the back is slightly round, I suppose, with the neck position neutral. The neck position is neutral, neither looking up nor down. And on the inhale, a slight expansion. On the exhale, that pulling back. So I'm exaggerating the movement here. The movement is slightly exaggerated, but it's going one way and the other way. So really, and I'm just extrapolating outwards here, in every yoga posture, you've got a tension between opposites, but you've also got this kind of mini version of cat-cow position. Yep, as spiraling underneath your armpits, or you can think of it as a spiral or a loop, or it's basically, or an undulation, basically a kind of movement of the shoulder girdle, yeah, between pronation and protraction, yeah, or retraction, sorry. And as long as you pursue that in the forward folds of the primary series, the body will open nicely. If you just think of the primary series as jumping forward and doing another hamstring stretch, well, maybe you'll stretch your hamstrings, you'll probably overstretch your hamstrings, in fact, you'll probably overstretch your lower back. Nothing will change at the shoulder blades and the upper back where you're really looking to affect change. The second thing I'd like to say in the, around forward folds is that they're not all the same. Right? It's not forward fold, the same thing every time for the whole primary series. They're all different lengths. So if we look at Janu Shirshasana now, and again the clue is in the name, Janu is the knee, Shirsha is the head. If you set Janu Shirshasana up correctly, then you're only going to come head to knee posture, and I'll do another explainer on that later. You'll only come head to knee, which will make the back really rounded, and there's nothing wrong with round back. You need extension and you need flexion. Otherwise, when you come to postures that demand flexion, like arm balances, and I'm thinking of Karundavasana particularly here, but there's many that do, yeah, Bhujapadasana, you won't be able to do them, right? You need the flexion and you need extension. You need both, right? So there's a few little tips for forward folds and for yoga stretching generally. And when we're talking about stretching, what we're really talking about is mobilization, right? And that mobilization comes from the engagement of the stomach along with the breathing together to affect the whole body as one unit of energy, or one unit of movement, right? And that is my ultimate definition of bandha, I suppose, when we've got the body functioning as a whole, as a holistic system. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed some of that, and if you did, please feel free to comment or question in the comments below.